love myself. Let me put some chapstick on these lips. All right. Self-love workbook for women. Release self-doubt. Blind with build self-compassion and embrace who you are. By Megan Logan. We're gonna run through this. I got a pen. You read some, you answer some, you go through it. Okay? This workbook belongs to Big Keish. You know who it is. You know who it be. Embark on a journey of self-love, a powerful workbook for women. In a rapidly changing world full of personal and professional challenges, it is not always easy to treat yourself with love and compassion. But the self-love workbook for women is a simple first step. It's full of thought-provoking reflection and encouragement for women who want to build the confidence and self-esteem they need to take on the world. Whether you're navigating your own body image, leaving an unhealthy relationship, or simply trying to embrace who you are, this book provides helpful tools and exercises for developing a better relationship with yourself. One part approach, learn what self-love really is and why it is important to find ways to release self-doubt, practice self-compassion, and create a life filled with meaning and purpose. Proven techniques, get inspired by quotes, affirmations, powerful exercises, and insightful prompts that are based in positive psychology, mindfulness, and other methods for practicing self-love. All you need is self-love. If you're going through a hard time or just want to include more loving practices in your life, this is the workbook that will help you reach your full potential and nurture yourself along the way. Practicing self-love means learning how to trust ourselves, to treat ourselves with respect, and be kind and affectionate to ourselves. Brene Brown. Introduction. Welcome. As you embark on the journey towards self-love, and I am excited to help you navigate by introducing you to the roadmap that will lead you towards a better relationship with yourself. I want to praise you for taking the big step. As a woman, we often struggle to set aside time for ourselves. This workbook is designed not to talk about self-love and why it's important, but to show you how to find it. Experts often talk about how important it is to have self-worth, yet how do you simply love ourselves? Wouldn't it be nice if it were as easy as just knowing the definition of self-love? I have found that a pathway to self-love must include intentional practices with mindful focus and energy devoted towards developing those skills. And self-love is the destination. The activities in the book are fueling stations along the way. Your willingness to complete and practice the exercises is fuel that gets you where you want to be. Sometimes this process may feel like it takes too much effort or just doesn't ring true. You may hit speed bumps or take a detour. It's okay, since just as with self-love, we are focused on outcome, but not on the process itself. Keep practicing. You are worth it, and purchasing this workbook is a wonderful first step towards making yourself a priority. Eventually, your hard work will pay off, and you will be on your way to loving yourself. Through my personal experience in my 20 years as a licensed clinical social worker specializing in women's issues, I have witnessed firsthand the importance of self-love. As a working mother in the helping profession, I have found myself running out of gas at the end of the day, my battery drained, depleted. I wanted to zone out with Netflix and chocolate, avoiding social connections because they felt too draining, caused some problems in my life, leading to isolation and feeling burned out. It was in these moments that I realized how important it was to put myself first. Today I work to help my clients do the same, turn within and learn how to prioritize self-care and love. Sometimes something amazing happens when women learn to find and nurture their gifts and strengths and begin to heal their lives. Whether you're recovering from a distorted body image, leaving an unhealthy relationship, or simply deciding to put yourself first, this book provides helpful tools and exercises, creating a life filled with meaning and purpose. Through the use of affirmations and mantras, step-by-step practices, exercises, and thought-provoking prompts, this workbook encourages movement towards the greater self-love. Having said that, Please understand that this book is not meant to replace therapy, medication, or mental health treatment, and there is no shame in reaching out to a healthcare provider for any help you may need. I laugh because yeah, it doesn't replace it, but it's gonna help it though. Rather, this workbook can serve as a wonderful adjacent for healing and growth. I like to think of it as a starting place and a map to show you the way. This book is broken into two parts. In part one, you'll gain the understanding of self-love while recognizing why it's important to make it a priority. And part two breaks down the concept of self-love into separate components, including chapters on releasing self-doubt, practicing self-compassion, building your self-worth, and creating healthier relationships, as well as activities throughout the practice and encourage your self-reflection and inspiration. It is perfectly fine to move at your own pace. In fact, I encourage you not to rush the process. Remember that this is a journey and it will lead to many destinations, including place of wisdom from which you are able to practice kindness and compassion towards yourself. I am hopeful that you will go through this workbook with lessons will be paved with your courage and willingness to be vulnerable. Some of these introspective prompts and activities may feel scary or overwhelming at times. Please try to make space and allow these feelings to be present as you move forward and practice the skills. Don't worry if that sounds impossible. I will help support and encourage you along the way. I'm excited to ride along you as your co-pilot as you grow, learn, heal, and ultimately know what a gift you are in this world. Thank you for trusting me and allowing me to share in your experience. Women need real moments of solitude and self-reflection to balance out how much of ourselves we give away. Barbara DeAngelis. Part 1. Let's talk about self-love. Before beginning any journey, you must have an idea of where to begin and your final destination. The first leg of this journey involves laying a foundation for understanding self-love. This part of the workbook will allow you to take time to reflect and consider what self-love means to you and identify areas that you are already strong in and areas that need growth. Part 1 provides the purpose for learning self-love. It also serves as the why for taking the time and making space to complete exercises in Part 2. One, the lowdown on self-love. And I would find myself again, not the same version of me that I was looking for, but a stronger version, a wiser version, a woman who knew that she was enough just as she was, a woman who had been tried in the fire, but instead of being burned by it, came out gold. A woman who finally, after doubting and questioning and striving and hustling for her worth for years, finally came to the realization that she was and is and has always been enough. Mandy Hale. To start, we must first drill down into the idea of self-love in order to fuel up the motivation and energy. The chapter will help inspire and prepare you to do the work in Part 2. Here will come a better understanding and conceptualize the noblest idea of self-love by defining what it is, what it isn't, and what it might look like on a daily basis. There's an assignment exercise at the end of the chapter to help you get a quick snapshot of where you stand in the self-love arena. What is self-love? Self-love is fuel that allows an individual to reach their full potential and is filled with compassion, grace, and gentleness. Making space and prioritizing ourselves allows us to embrace our lives completely and wholeheartedly. Self-love is learning to extend kindness towards ourselves when we struggle and suffer. It is extending forgiveness to ourselves when we make mistakes. Self-love means prioritizing ourselves and giving ourselves permission to find and believe in our strengths and gifts. Sometimes it means putting ourselves first. Sometimes it means making space to identify our needs and wants. It involves setting boundaries, and setting boundaries involves self-love. The two concepts work together. The clients I work with often struggle to know how to love themselves. Often, in the first therapy session, women can quickly and easily identify when some internalized shame based beliefs and the need for self love. But then they get stuck not knowing what steps to take in order to change. They become lost, unfamiliar with how to navigate the path forward. What it isn't. To better understand what self love involves, sometimes it helps to think about what self love doesn't involve. Self love is not perfection, nor is it always being happy. It is based on your achievements and external measurements of success. It is not rooted in shame based criticism or fear. It does not shame, lie, minimize, or criticize. Often women think that they can love themselves through fault finding and beating themselves up as if they will help them become better versions of themselves. If you can relate, I can promise you that in this effort, you make yourself better through self shaming and self criticizing. You'll become worse and broken down, waiting for someone or something to rescue you. True self love must come within, even when you screw up or take a wrong turn in life. Why do we struggle to love ourselves? Self love seems like a simple enough concept, but why does it prove so evasive? All humans are hardwired for connection and belonging. For women, nurturing has its root in survival. In early hunting and gathering societies, women activities centered around bearing and rearing children, gathering food and drink, and creating a safe home space. Today, as women, we often find ourselves taking care of our children, our parents, our friends, our lovers. We extend grace and compassion towards others so easily, yet we often struggle to make space and time to put ourselves first. Perhaps this stems from a faulty belief that we are selfish or undeserving. Maybe it comes from internalized societal messages, early childhood wounds, and deeply rooted trauma. Or perhaps we just don't take the time to prioritize ourselves. Internalized beliefs of unworthiness are rooted in shame, and where there is shame, self love struggles to grow. I have found that most women struggling to love themselves have a strong, critical internal voice. Rarely would they speak to their friends, family, or even an enemy the way they talk to themselves. Over time, this internalized critical narrative creates an automatic narrative, a well worn pathway like an eighth lane superhighway. While learning to practice self love can sometimes feel like using a butter knife to chop the weeds and make a path through the thick jungle, just know that creating a new narrative and doing the exercises in this workbook will soon make a way clearer and healthier pathway to emerge. Likewise, if you had a difficult childhood that was rooted in dysfunctional patterns, self love may never have had a chance to take root and blossom. It is never too late to start the process. We can learn how to love ourselves even as adults and create new solid foundations for growth and healing. I make these hats. They're in my links on my page. They're in my link tree under BIGKEISH merch if you want to purchase, okay? Where does a lack of self-love show up for you? A woman sacrifices her own needs and desires for everyone else, is likely to eventually become resentful and frustrated. At first, it might look like giving and nurturing. Over time, she loses her sense of self and becomes exhausted, bitter, and unfulfilled. The reason behind lack of self love are plenty, and the manifestations of an empty self love tank may show up in many ways. The reasons might include hating our bodies, and the manifestations might be engaging in destructive patterns like dieting, binging, and purging, compulsively body checking, and comparing ourselves to others on social media. It might look like getting caught in the endless chase for emotionally unavailable or inappropriate partners in the fruitless attempt to feel special or wanted. It might look like staying in unhealthy relationships much longer than needed. A lack of self love reveals itself when we focus on finding external sources to fuel us. This often leaves us feeling even emptier inside. Less obviously, sometimes the lack of self love shows up disguised as perfectionism. This may sound strange at first. Wouldn't accomplishments and success foster self-love. Unfortunately, the perfectionism and external measurements of self-worth take the wheel. Self-love comes a screeching halt. Instead, feelings of unworthiness take over and move us in the wrong direction, away from self-love. Have you ever thought, if I only get 100% on my math test, if I only lose 20 pounds, if I only had a romantic partner? Hustling to prove to others and ourselves that we are worthy become an endless, empty pursuit that mistakenly feels like self-love. It is not. Self-love is what shines through even when we don't accomplish our goals or meet our measurements of success. Self-love must involve extending kindness and grace to ourselves, no matter the outcome. Later in this workbook, you'll have the opportunity to put this idea into practice. The benefits of loving yourself. Imagine for a moment what your life would be like if you truly loved yourself. What would change if you let go of self-doubt, self-criticism, and fear of not being good enough? Imagine what life you will feel whole. You will feel whole, energized, and ready to take on whatever life hands you. Imagine feeling that you are worthy and have meaning in this world. You have just identified the benefits of loving yourself. Here are 5 ways loving yourself can change your life. He just threw out all that damn bread. Now all these damn birds coming over near me. I'm trying to have the window open just a bit while I read. Goddamn, he just threw all that damn bread. Now it's 1,000 birds next to me. I cannot. Number 1, a kinder, gentler you. Imagine talking to yourself in a loving and supportive way, kind of like a best friend, coach, parent, or teacher. Being supportive, encouraging, and forgiving allows for grace and peace to come into your life. Number 2, more energy for living fully. Freeing up space and time to nurture yourself and practice self-care allows for renewal of energy and an endless supply of fuel that comes from within. It's like, well, that never runs out of water. It's like a well that never runs out of water. Number 3, more love to share with others. Cliche, that's so true. It's hard to love someone else the way you want to if you don't first love yourself, and you may fall into a pattern of dependency or need. Loving yourself more will have a positive impact on all of your relationships. Number 4, healthier relationships with loved ones. Without self-love to fuel your own lives, we will feel the need to look elsewhere, and sometimes that takes the form of attempting to find fuel in relationships with others. Unfortunately, these relationships can become imbalanced and filled with need, resentment, and bitterness. As we look to others to make us happy or help us feel worthy, learning self-love allows us to have a healthier dynamic and exemptions in relationships. We become the creators of our happiness. Number 5, no longer dependent on external measures of success. Of course, it feels wonderful to be successful and reach your goals. When self-love fuels this rather than self-doubt and fear, success becomes something to enjoy and appreciate with gratitude and a strong sense of our gifts. Why women should make self-love a priority. Self-love is an essential nutrient in our lives. We can nourish ourselves fully by practicing self-care and self-compassion. Self-love rooted in knowing and nurturing internal strengths and grounded in personal values is essential for growth, learning, and the fullness that comes with living your whole truth. Stretching outward, the sentiment you can't pour from an empty cup illustrates how our own inner stores affect our ability to be anything to anybody. Rarely, if ever, does true love extend beyond ourselves if there is no source from within. Running around trying to be worthy and please everyone is exhausting and ultimately leaves us feeling depleted. Self-critical messages, while falsely seeming to motivate, prove counterproductive, driving a sense of disconnect, resentment, and loneliness. Without self-love, opportunities set in for unhealthy tendencies such as self-destruction, relationship patterns, codependency, people-pleasing, addictions, and self-sabotage. When we prioritize self-love, we hustle to be good enough by measuring outcome like the number on the scale or a grade on the test, how many friends we have. These measurements fall short of true love that comes within. Prioritizing and practicing self love is imperative to allowing ourselves to find peace, have meaningful relationships and connections, and reach our fullest potential. Imagine the amazing things that can happen with the kind of self love. Reflect and set your intentions. Before starting any journey, you want to identify what you hope to get out of the experience. It can help to slow down, quiet the chatter in your mind, and relax your body to allow your inner wisdom to speak to you. Find a quiet place to sit and read through the following instructions and then practice the steps below. 1. Start by gently closing your eyes. Take 3 deep breaths, inhaling fully and exhaling slowly. Think back to what prompted you to buy this book. Pay attention to any silent nudges or places that might feel uncomfortable. Reflect for a moment on what you hope to gain from this workbook. Think about how you might feel in your body if you were able to fully. Pay attention to the changes in your breathing. Relax and open your eyes when you're ready. Can y'all still hear me? Thank you, Sheila. I appreciate you too. Thank you. Thank you, KO. Okay. How to start your self-love journey. Ready, set, let's go. Get started. Let's first take a look at how to prepare. Ridiculous. First, let's take a look at how to prepare and begin your journey. Here's a few things you'll need. Time. You'll want to find time with minimal distractions. In the real world, women often find themselves in many roles, and that means multitasking. As a working mother, I vividly recall once breastfeeding my child while wearing a baby sling, stirring spaghetti sauce, and being on a work conference call. Not ideal for deep reflection or introspection. When doing this workbook, try to set aside even 15 minutes of alone quiet time. It could mean waking up 15 minutes earlier, going to bed 15 minutes later. You might even want to sneak the workbook into the bathroom. Colored pens or pencils, craft materials. In addition to the workbook, I encourage you find some special colored pens or pencils. Sometimes using a specific pen or pencil colored writing utensil can bring the journaling experience to life. Colors, textures, and different styles of writing remind us to prioritize ourselves and tend to make the experience more enjoyable. A special place. When you begin this process, it's important to find the right space to ensure comfort and relaxed state of mind. Perhaps a comfy chair with some pillows and a blanket will do, or a special place in your home where it's quiet and calm. I have one client who uses her closet to find privacy. A ritual and sensory experience. To enhance the experience, try lighting a candle, playing some spa relaxation music, adding soft lighting, cuddling up in pajamas, or drinking some hot tea. The idea is to create a ritual and intentional practice filled with multi-sensory experiences, such as soothing and nurturing atmosphere, opens up to the possibilities of self-love. An open mind and willingness to be vulnerable. Perhaps the most important tool when starting your journey is the willingness to become vulnerable. The willingness to become vulnerability. When you're honest and authentic with yourself, creativity, growth, and healing can flourish. Open yourself up to possibilities, and when feeling scared or overwhelmed, just notice and acknowledge the feelings. Take a deep breath and shift your focus back to the workbook. Challenges you may face along the way. When working on topics like self love, you may find yourself on a bumpy road at times, hitting potholes or even breaking down on the side of the road. These challenges may come in the form of self doubting, fear, being too busy, distractions, the fear of being too self indulgent, or feeling of not being worthy enough to even get started. Please be patient with yourself and know you're worth it. Don't give up. Keep moving forward, even and maybe especially when facing these obstacles. Even if you take the time to read each chapter but don't do the exercises, it's okay. If there's a chapter or a section in the workbook that just seems too hard or doesn't resonate with you, feel free to come back to it when the time is right, or skip the section that fits your needs at the moment. This is your journey, and at the very least, you'll want to practice kindness and self compassion while using this book. The exercises in this workbook can be used on their own, in partnership with a therapist, or even with a small group of women to support and encourage each other. It won't happen overnight. Healing rarely happens quickly. In fact, true change takes time. You might feel like you're stuck on a merry-go-round, but sometimes growth is nonlinear. It can have ups and downs. Please try to trust the process in the journey. Be gentle and kind to yourself. When you feel impatient or struggle to feel self love, like a caterpillar or a seed must grow through stages to soar and bloom, you are evolving and growing, and this is the journey of miles rather than minutes. Allow yourself to learn each step of the way. How self love can change your life. This is a self love workbook for women. And we are getting acquainted with the book. We're getting to know the book. We're gonna go through the workbook as much as we can. Gotta drink your water, okay, honey? You're very welcome. Truly loving yourself can transform your life on so many levels. Imagine just for a moment what life would feel like if fueled from the inside rather than the external measurements of success based on social standards and others' expectations. The energy that can come from self-love will propel you into becoming the best version of yourself. No longer trapped in pursuit of hopeless relationships, emotionally unavailable partners, people pleasing, self doubt, jealousy, envy, or destructive behaviors. When self worth grows from within, love blossoms and spreads to the outside world, making relationships more enriched and authentic. With self love, you become free to make mistakes and still move about in the world all the time, learning and growing. A self assessment. Where are you in your self love journey? Let's see where you are in your journey towards self love. Rate these statements on a scale of 0 to 5. When finished, add up to the total score. 0 is never, 1 is rarely, 2 is sometimes, 3 is frequently, 4 is most often, and 5 is always. I believe I am worthy and deserving of love. I'm going to say 4, most often. I believe I am special. Trust, that's going to be a 5. I believe I have a purpose for living. 4, I am able to communicate my needs and wants. I'm going to say 2 because sometimes I don't know how to say what I really need and want. I am accepting and loving of my body just the way it looks. I'm going to say 3 because I am working to be looking better. I do not need to be in a romantic relationship to feel whole. Let's put that as 2 sometimes. You all need a little romance and don't get it twisted. You need that too. I think it is okay to make mistakes and not be the best. Sometimes. Sometimes. Mother, play as fuck up. You know what I'm saying? Play as fuck up. My feelings matter just as much as everyone else's. 5. I don't give a fuck who said I was emotional, whatever the fucking case. Everybody's emotions and feelings are important. I place equal importance on my feelings as on other people's feelings. Sometimes I do. I deserve good things in my life. I feel like I truly, truly do. Hey Deja, how you doing? That's 10, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 34. So let me write in here final score. So my score came out to be 34. I'm between the 30 and 40 range. It says you're on your way. Keep taking time to remember you are special and important. Conclusion. I am proud of you for your willingness and courage to take the first step in our journey together. Your recognition of the importance of self-love will hopefully sustain you through the next chapter as we prepare ourselves to delve further. I don't know what that's supposed to be. Develop further. It says DELVE. Okay, further into the practice of self-love. You have taken the first and most important step, which is acknowledging the importance of self-love in your life. Let's keep moving forward to the next leg of the journey. I've included an affirmation at the end of each chapter. An affirmation is a great tool for relaxing and focusing the mind, encouraging positive thinking, and affirming who you are and who you can become. Take a moment to focus on your breath and repeat this statement to yourself until you are ready to turn the page. Opening myself up to vulnerability is where the magic happens. Opening myself up to vulnerability is where the magic happens. Thank you, KL. Appreciate it. All right, chapter 2. Prepare for the road ahead. If someone else notices our qualities and talents, we think those parts must be worthwhile. For someone to discover us, admire us, colonize us, but why must it be another person? Why can't you sail that voyage and explore yourself? The next step in our self-love journey involves preparation. In this chapter, we'll take steps to establish a purposeful process and create a space for intentional practice in learning to love ourselves. You will explore ways to become vulnerable and authentic and learn how to make yourself a priority in a world in which other things compete for your attention. Think about this chapter as making sure you have your peripheral full tank of gas, inflated tires and working engines, seat belts, airbags, and jumper cables handy. And remember that sometimes music and snacks to enjoy during the ride can enhance the experience, while finding self-love can feel magical in itself. This happens best in context of dedication and commitment, so buckle up, you are worth it. The power of daily self-love practice. Each day presents itself as a new opportunity to reset and reawaken self-love. If you struggled the day before, set aside time and make yourself a priority. It's okay. It's never too late to start practicing self-love. Through it all, try talking to yourself in a kind and supportive way so you will stay focused on your goals. Self-love can grow in the context of shame and put downs. Imagine if you spoke kindly and lovingly to yourself every day. What would change? What would feel different? What would you give yourself permission to do? A daily self-love practice sets up a pathway in the brain for self-love to become automatic. Just like brushing your teeth, scientists have learned that activated neurons connected to other firing neurons in the brain to transmit information. These neurons wire together to create a neural pathway with daily practice and any new action. In this case, self love becomes ingrained. Sure, in the beginning, this is challenging. It feels like work or maybe even self indulgent at times. Nevertheless, if continued, this new behavior will become second nature, allowing for self love to grow. It's not all bubble baths and manicures. You sure? Because that's what I want to do. Take a bubble bath and get a manicure and lay the fuck down somewhere and rest. I used to think that self love sounded indulgent and luxurious. Who has time for that? Then work, families, relationships demand so much of our energy and time. I quickly learned that living fully requires that we nurture ourselves well beyond the scope of getting a manicure, drinking a glass of wine, and soaking in the tub. Sure, relaxation and pampering are lovely and essential, but true self love involves more. It means we develop honesty within ourselves, identify our values, and create an authentic life free from self harm and self destruction patterns. It's about creating a new life in which our choices and decisions nurture and reflect our true selves and values. Consider this for a moment. What priorities would shift or change for you? Don't worry if you aren't clear about the values yet. We'll explore that in the second part of the workbook. Just remember, while bubble baths and manicures are fun, true self love comes with a deep within and does not rely on external events, outcomes, or other people's opinions or societal standards. Be vulnerable. As women, we often find ourselves in the nurturer role, taking care and helping others. It is difficult to notice that we too may need to feel special or loved. Focusing on others' needs can be a way of avoiding our own needs, which makes us feel vulnerable. An important part of being authentic to ourselves, is recognizing our vulnerabilities, our feelings of not being good enough, along with our disappointment, sadness, and fears, and making conscious choice to go there. Practicing honesty and vulnerability within ourselves can sometimes feel overwhelming or scary, but it's necessary for coming to terms with any obstacle to inner peace and self acceptance. While you are your number one supporter in this journey, consider identifying trusted relationships for support. Perhaps friends, a family member, a partner, or a therapist. There are supportive people who can help cheer you on and encourage you from a side of the road. Remember that you are in the driver's seat, and the ability to let yourself be vulnerable ultimately begins with you. Be honest. If vulnerability is our friend, then honesty is her sister. Honesty happens when we cultivate authenticity. By living only to please others or meet external standards, we pull away from our true paths. Honesty allows us to thoughtfully speak through our minds and express our feelings, opinions, even if it upsets others and makes someone else uncomfortable. When we suppress our thoughts and feelings, then we often come out in form that causes grief and discomfort. Suppressing emotions does not make them go away. In reality, it can cause feelings to stay around longer and intensify. Over time, stifling negative emotion contributes to health-related issues such as high blood pressure, memory loss, and difficulty focusing. Unexpressed and unresolved anger can build, leading to an overreaction that can damage relationships and self-worth. Being true to ourselves involves recognizing our gifts and sharing them with the world. I imagine if we all tried to be a little bit more honest and vulnerable with our emotions, we would have a more meaningful relationships and connections. Put yourself first. You might be thinking, how in the world can I put myself first? With so many demands and expectations, wouldn't it be nice to have such a luxury? I often thought about this myself. Work deadlines, bills to pay, groceries to buy, caring for children, parents, lovers, friends, even the dog gets fed and walked before I attend to my needs. Putting myself first is entirely counterintuitive to my personality, nature, and female conditioning. It took some time, dedicated introspection, and journaling, but I learned how to set emotional and physical boundaries, allowing myself time to restore and engage in activities that brought me peace and joy. I hope this workbook helps you find that in your life. Make time for you. It may feel impossible to make time for self care. I found ways to sneak it into my daily routine by waking up 10 minutes early just to lie in bed, watch the sunrise, or allow myself to listen to meditation music uninterrupted before I go to bed. I take hot showers and practice focusing on the warm water and the smell of the shampoo. I have prioritized going to the gym, even if I reward myself by watching a Netflix series uninterrupted while on an elliptical machine. Hey, whatever it takes, right? When my kids were small, I had to get a little more creative to find some time. The key in these smaller moments become making them count. Practicing mindfulness, and staying present works best. I promise you that no one else will do it for you. Even 5 minutes is better than nothing. Self-nurturing opportunities happen all the time. A hot cup of tea, the smell of our soap, the sun in our face, and sometimes when we are preoccupied or lost in thought, we miss it. A trick to practicing self-love is to give yourself 5 minutes a day. Now, during those 5 minutes, you must show up fully, staying present and aware. While 5 minutes may seem too short, it's not if you make it count. Practice being intentional, aware of every thought, feeling, and physical sensation without judgment. Those 5 minutes can help you connect with yourself and bring you peace of mind. 5 minute self-love hacks. Here are 3 multi-sensory self-soothing self-love hacks. Connect with nature and breathe. Go outside and take a deep breath through the nostrils. In through your nostrils and exhale through your mouth. Feeling the sensation in your lungs, filling with air, and notice the calming effect on your body. Listen closely. Close your eyes, paying attention to the sounds you hear around you. Just listen and notice without judging. There are no good or bad sounds. They just are. Now describe what you hear in your own words by sharing aloud or journaling. Just record the facts. The examples, the clock ticked, the door shut, the cat purred, the fucking birds chirped, all kind of shit like that. Self-soothe through touch. Practice soothing yourself physically in some way, perhaps twirling your hair on your finger, rubbing your arm gently, or massaging your neck. Notice the physical sensation and feeling comfort. Sometimes we do this unconsciously and we aren't even aware. Self-love must be intentional in the beginning before it becomes a habit. Practice physical touch with awareness and no judgment. Now, one thing that I do is I be rubbing my legs and my knees, especially my knee that I had surgery on. I find myself doing that a lot. Like, you might even notice, like, I'll just be sitting there going like this. Like, if I'm sitting on live and I'm talking to y'all, like, I'll just be rubbing my knees and you wouldn't even know. So I feel like I definitely already do the soothing through touch, because I'm always rubbing on my legs and stuff. It's very soothing to me. My fucking knees always be hurting, especially when it's cold and stuff. And just having the warm hand on my body, like having my own warm hand on my knees and on my legs and stuff, that is, it's perfect for that. As far as closing my eyes and like listening to the sounds, I don't really get a chance to do that a lot. I'm always busy doing something, so I'm gonna have to put in some more work to have some more time to do that. And then going outside and taking a deep breath. It's kind of cold out right now, so honestly, I'm not trying to get sick, but that would be something else that I would take some time and put aside for myself. I'm gonna start going to the reservoir and walking around and running around and jogging around there. So I feel like when I'm talking about doing that, then I'll be able to like stop and take a deep breath, or even lay in the grass and kind of like take a deep breath and bring in like, the nature, and just kind of let my thoughts flow. That'd be two things that I definitely want to work on. So I'm definitely gonna put a star under these two to make sure that I do not forget. Fold the corner. Make sure I do not forget, because those are two things that I want to do. Schedule it so you don't forget. Our lives are busy as we hustle around trying to complete the activities on our schedules. Often we run out of time and energy by the end of the day of making self-love challenging to achieve. I found that scheduling time to practice self-love makes a difference. If you're a morning person, maybe you can wake up 10 minutes earlier. If you like me, you can set aside lunchtime as a sacred time to refuel and cut out all distractions and demands. Go ahead and do that. Sometimes we just need to schedule self-love practice into our busy lives and make it a priority. This is the great first step in the right direction. Simple ways to practice self-love outside of this book. There are many simple ways to practice self-love outside of this workbook. I've listed a few here and encourage you to explore the possibilities even further on your own. A list of helpful resources is included at the end of this book on 153 that'll point you in the right direction. 153. Okay, resources. Oh, that's fire. They got all the resources in the back of this book. That is so fire. Okay. Meditation. Meditation comes with many emotional, physical, and spiritual benefits. This practice helps manage stress and allows for relaxation response with the body. When practicing meditation, the only thing that exists in that moment, the only thing that exists is in that moment. Meditation allows for creativity, new ideas, and sometimes a feeling of connectedness with something bigger than oneself. For some reason, meditation may have powerful spiritual implications. For others, it may be allowing for grounding and connectedness with their physical body. Since meditation helps lower stress levels, it can become an essential component in managing chronic health issues like anxiety, chronic pain, insomnia, hypertension, inflammatory illness, tension headaches, and autoimmune disorders. By offering ourselves the opportunity for stress reduction and taking the time to reflect and recenter, we can shift the focus from external events into our bodies. This is a form of self-love. By claiming our minds and our bodies, we get in tune with ourselves. One of my favorite ways to meditate involves turning down the lights and lighting a candle while asking my Alexa to play relaxation and meditation music. I start with slow, deep breaths and focus on the sounds of the music. If a thought comes into my mind, I notice it and move it to an imaginary sticky note on the side of my mind and attend to it later. I then shift my focus back to breathing and the music. Of course, meditation does not have to happen at night nor in a quiet bedroom. Once you get the hang of it, you can practice anywhere, even when waiting for a subway, in line at the grocery store, or right before a big test. Visualization. One of my favorite things to practice with clients is guided imagery meditation. After centering and calming through breath and focus, think of an image of something pleasing or calming. Then Then take a panoramic scan of the scene. The trick to effective visualization involves full sensory awareness. For a beach scene, it might be something like this. Picture being at the beach and focus on the images and colors that you see. Perhaps a blue sky with white puffy clouds or big blue-green water. Imagine the beach smells such as the salty air or the smell of sunscreen. Imagine the taste of salt on your lips and the sound of seagulls or waves crashing. Then feel the warm sun and the cool breeze on your face. Start at the left and scan 180 degrees from the left to the right, noticing all of the colors and details you might usually miss. Yoga and stretching. Yoga and gentle stretching allow us to center and become grounded with our bodies. When you're stressed or anxious, our muscles tend to tighten up and become tense. This fight, flight, or freeze stress response sends chemicals and oxygen to our large muscle groups so we can respond to any or perceived threat. Our bodies react the same way as if a scary animal chased us. In our modern life, we are not typically in physical or immediate danger, and we do not need these extra chemicals and oxygen. When we live in a state of pent up stress, our bodies never get the chance to discharge and release that built up tension. Yoga and stretching assist in that release and become a way to treat our bodies kindly with love. With yoga and stretching, the focus is on breathing, being present, and gently moving, not on burning calories or achieving demanding physical poses. When we stretch our muscles and center into our physical bodies, feeling of relaxation and rejuvenation can emerge. Breathing, perhaps one of the simplest, purest, and most effective ways to practice self-love, involves intentional breathing. Of course, we breathe every day without thinking about it. But when we practice breathing as a method of stress management, we are showing ourselves love. As we quiet our minds and focus on inhalations and exhalations, our body fills with life-sustaining oxygen, which gets transported throughout our bodies right down to a cellular level. On an emotional level, breathing allows us to come into our bodies while focusing on the present moment. There are excellent apps that can prompt us to breathe correctly and intentionally, such as Calm and Headspace. I prefer deep breathing from the diaphragm called belly breathing. By placing one hand on your chest and another on your stomach, you can tell if you're breathing correctly. The belly should move upward and out first, followed by the chest. If often when we are stressed or in any state of anxiety, breathing becomes shallow from the chest. Slow and deep inhalations and exhalations trigger an immediate relaxation response. For an even more effective method, pair one word phrases or mantra with deep breathing. While inhaling, think, I am good enough. And while exhaling, breathe out any negative beliefs. Additional practices. Consider these self love practices. Journaling. Put a pen to paper. Free writing without judgment. Summarize feelings and daily events. Self love affirmations. Read or say these aloud daily. I've included many affirmations throughout the book. Set an alarm 10 minutes before you get up. Don't look at your phone, just lie there. Savor your warm bed and think gentle thoughts. Hug yourself. As you do, think loving thoughts about yourself, much as you would a dear friend. Self-love assessment. Do you show yourself self-love? In this exercise, fill in the heart with ways that you already show yourself love. Consider the different ways this happens. The first one can be you are reading this workbook. If you are having a hard time getting started thinking of ways to show others love and see if any of those might apply to you, include the following. One, 3 ways you show your physical body love, such as nutrients, food, a warm bath, and sleep. 2, 3 ways you engage in pleasing activities, such as hobbies or being outside with nature or reading. And 3 ways to take your time for yourself, such as waking up early for a cup of coffee, journaling, or limiting social media. So number 1, 3 ways that you show yourself physical love. number 2, 3 ways that you engage in pleasing activities. And number 3 ways you take time for yourself every day. Let's get started. Now that we've prepared for our first trip in part 1, we are ready to take off. Part 2 of this book includes specific areas you can focus on during your self-love journey. You'll have the opportunities to practice, journal, and assess yourself, as well as explore self-love even further. Remember that self-love involves through intentional practice. While there may be days when it feels impossible to make the time or real motivated, don't give up. These are often the most important days to press on. If you encounter a detour or make a pit stop, it's okay. Keep moving in the right direction. Remember that the journey is more important than reaching any particular destination. Self-love is a ever-evolving process. In conclusion, we've got our map, our vehicle, and our supplies, and now we can start to embark on our self-love journey. Let's remind ourselves of what we've learned so far. Self-love involves purposeful practice. It requires vulnerability, honesty, and courage, but it does not mean we are perfect. Rather, self-love means we work towards finding our voices, our truths, and our authenticity through the practices of self-love, self-compassion, and kindness. I deserve to love myself. Okay, you've been criticizing yourself for years and it hasn't worked. Try approving yourself and see what happens. This kind of goes with that other book when we was talking about your thoughts. Well, you're not poor, your thoughts are. Because if you're thinking that you can't do something or you're criticizing yourself about it, having better thoughts towards yourself, having better thoughts towards yourself and towards self-love will get you a better outcome. So these books all kind of go hand in hand with each other, and I'm glad that I'm reading them in the way that I'm reading them. This is a workbook. It says Self-Love Workbook for Women. And if you're looking to purchase a hat, they're in my link tree under BIGKEISH merch. It's on the Etsy. You can go and click it, and you can pick whatever colors you want, any styles, and anything like that. The books are linked there. The hats are linked there. Part 2, Love Yourself More. Welcome to the second part of the workbook. Well, we got through part 1 pretty quick, didn't we? That's crazy. Welcome to part 2 of your workbook. Here's where the fun begins as we begin to explore what's ahead. The next part involves delving deeper into understanding yourself and learning about your relationship with your self-love through prompts, exercise, and experimental practices. You're very welcome, honey. You're very welcome. 3, start where you are. A journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. When you hear self-love, what comes to mind? For some women, self-love is a foreign concept. Some women struggle to feel worthy of even starting to learn to love themselves. Events such as early childhood trauma and growing up in invalidating environments can cause people to internalize that belief that their feelings and thoughts do not matter. Even just thinking about self-love sometimes triggers uncomfortable memories and emotions from the past. It may remind us of times when we felt unloved or received messages that we were not good enough. These shame-based messages can paralyze us, quickly shutting down our efforts to grow in self-love. You know what else though? This goes with that other book, The 4 Agreements, because it said Be impeccable with your word. Don't doubt yourself. That was the one. Don't doubt yourself. No self-doubt. So this goes with that book as well. And I just like how all the books are connected together and coming together as one. I feel like I'm picking the good books to go hand in hand with each other to get to the goal that I'm looking for. These same shame-based messages can paralyze us and quickly shutting down our efforts to grow in self-love. It becomes essential for us to explore those fears and deeper blocks as they may present barriers on our journeys. If strong feelings and memories become trigger, I'm doing the work. In doing this work, you might find it immensely helpful to connect with a mental health provider or get support from a trusted friend or loved one. In this chapter, we will also evaluate where you are in self-love journey and reflect on goals on this workbook. These exercises are adaptable and can be used in any order that works best for you. Let's set some goals. Let's set some. What would you like to receive from this workbook? For example, personal growth, inner peace, self-confidence, and healthier relationships. Well, I'm definitely going to say healthier relationships. How will this look on a daily life? For example, I'll set aside 10 minutes every day to practice some self-love. I'm going to set aside 15 fucking minutes if I have to. Okay, when will I know that I've reached my goals? What barriers might be present for me in practicing self-love, internal and external? Who can support me on my journey towards self-love? It's okay to include pets too. No motherfucking body. Nah, I'm just playing. Any more questions? Oh, there is a whole nother page of questions. Okay, Power to Women's playlist. Oh, these are some songs. They want me to listen to these songs. All right, Power to Women playlist. As a teenager, I used to love making mixtapes of some of my favorite songs. I recall one cassette, I labeled Power to Women. Why not make our own playlist of songs that inspire self-love? Your own personal soundtrack. Try playing the music in the background while completing your workbook. And when you need a pick-me-up, music can be a powerful tool to inspire you and improve the moment. Oh, they don't want you to listen to these songs. Here are some fun songs to include in your playlist. I Will Survive by Gloria Gaynor. That I will survive. This is my fight song. Fight song. That one. This girl is on fire. She walking on fire. I'm every woman. It's all in me. Baby. Okay. We already know Respect by Aretha Franklin. R-E-S-B-E-C-T. Beautiful by Christina Aguilera. I don't know what that song is. I have to look that one up because I know what it is. Just Fine by Mary J. Blige. Born This Way, Lady Gaga. Juice, Good as Hell, and Others by Lizzo, and 9 to 5 by Dolly Parton. Now, I'm gonna write down on my list, definitely gotta give me some J. Cole on there. I know they say, but do it gotta be white women though? I'm still putting Crooked Smile on there. That's my number one. That's my go-to. What's some other songs that you would suggest? She's just a girl and she's on fire. I know that me reading is not the funnest thing for you guys, and you probably don't want to hear it, and that's fine. But I'm still gonna continue to read on here. I will find my own songs and put my own stuff in here. I'm not asking for your help, but I would appreciate it if you give me some ideas, boo. Just give me a couple. Leave them in the comments, okay? Anyways, this was a great start to reading this book and going through this journey. I'm going to finish up this page and make sure that I got 10 songs that'll go good for it. I hope that you enjoyed reading, and we'll be back reading tomorrow. Y'all have a good day. Stay safe.